Welcome to The Gateway, your compass through the magical waters of spirit communication, broadcast live from United Public Radio Network 107.7 FM New Orleans. I'm your host, C.L. Thomas. So this week, I'm coming at you from New York City. I'm about an hour outside of New York, actually. And it's been pretty cool so far. I'm actually really close to the Amityville house. It's literally a stone's throw away. And it's kind of a neat house. It's a little strange because it's angled vertically from the road instead of horizontal like the rest of the neighborhood. So it kind of stands out. They actually changed the address to the house because they wanted to hide it. But because it stands out vertical, it's such an eyesore. Everything about this house is an HOA nightmare. I did not pick up anything paranormal around the house or anything in the neighborhood for that matter, but I'll let you know next week what my findings are. My guest tonight is a firefighter and first responder from Southern Heat Paranormal. I'm really excited to have him on. He's my unusual friend. His experience as an EMT has led him down a strange road into the paranormal. So, Mike, welcome to the show.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm really excited to see your face.
Yeah, we finally put all this together after texting and talking and try to figure out a date. And I wasn't available and you were unavailable. And so now we finally picked one date. And I'm at work, but I got my fire truck covered with somebody else. So
you're actually in the fire station hall right now?
Yeah, I'm actually in my bunk room upstairs, away from all the guys and all the noise, so we don't get disturbed. But yeah, I'm actually at the fire station. We do 2 days on, 48, and then I'm off 72. So this is really my second home. I live here with the guys for 2 days straight. So we have all the amenities that anybody would have at their house to an extent, yeah, we do our stuff during the day, our details, run calls, and whenever they come in, we run them. But then we can hit the gym around 4 and then eat supper, chill out, whatever, between calls. And some guys go to school, study, and I'll do other stuff here.
So how does it actually work? Do you all have to run out if there's a call?
Yeah, the station I'm at, we're one of the special ops stations, special operations, and we have a hazmat truck here, an aerial device, and we have a little squad truck that we run on certain medical calls. The area that I work in, there's six fire stations. So they're broke up into zones, just like a city. So not to get everybody confused. So depending on where the call is, what type of call it is. But in my station is only 4 guys. So we all go. If our station is called, then we all go.
Okay. So I used to live right next door to a fire station, and they used to have to go out every time there was a car accident or anything.
Oh yeah, we run everything. From medical calls, car accidents, to anything with any type of hazardous material spill, any type of response like that, we have to go on. I mean, sometimes they'll send like a single engine company, depending on what it is. We cover a major highway, so if it rains or anything like that, we're always out on the highway chasing vehicle accidents. I mean, we don't get a lot of weather in Georgia, but sometimes they get some ice and snow in the wintertime and people lose their minds and can't drive. So it's pretty funny coming from the north. But
I used to live in Nashville. I know how that works. The whole city would shut down like a snowflake.
They can't drive.
No.
It's more speed. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Tell me.
Yeah.
How did you get into the paranormal through being a first responder?
Oh, good question.
How does this happen?
Well, fortunately, with the paranormal has got me time to go speak about my journey to where I'm at today and how I got into the paranormal. So I've been a career firefighter for a very long time and an EMT. I got my EMT in high school. My mother actually took the class with me because I was only 16, but we can get into that a little bit later. So for my first call ever was a vehicle accident, and this was 92. Anyways, to set the scenario up or the scene for you, picture an old railroad trestle that set above the road. their train would run through the mountain, so they would put a trestle across the road. Well, after time, they quit using that track, so they made it to like a rails to trails where people could ride bikes and walk. Well, we were called for a vehicle accident on that highway near that railroad trestle. And when we get there, here's this Jeep Wrangler on the ground or on the road with the top snapped off, and a male patient laying there and a female patient laying there. Here they were up on that trestle on that trail, four-wheeling in the wintertime, and slid off that trestle and landed upside down on that road.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's where it all, yeah, so where it all started for me. And she was basically dying. She was just a matter of minutes. Then I didn't realize, I'm staring at this girl or this lady trying to give her first, medical care. I'm staring into her eyes, and it sort of triggered something to me then. And then as time went on with that, I would get flashes in my head of stuff. But back to her real quick. So she passed on scene, and he was transported to the hospital. But then for years, I would run these calls and was exposed to this stuff, and I would run into these things, and we can talk about more calls, but it never registered in my brain. Like I was led to go somewhere, and I basically like, hey, come here. And I was like, not going there. I wasn't picking up on the hints, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. And then as time went on and I was going on other calls, other things would happen. Like I would get flashes of a person or an incident on the scene, but flashes of stuff that happened prior to the incident happening, if that makes sense. So I just, put it off to my brain, just overthinking, and I'm seeing stuff that's not really there. I'm just overthinking it, and I'm manifesting into my head of what I thought happened before the accident or medical car, whatever it was that led up to this. So this went on for many, many years. I was putting off that path. So as time went on, I just continued to do what I do, was still having these interactions. I don't see stuff. I'm not sensitive. I don't think anything like that. Maybe have a little bit of empath, and we can talk about that here in a second, how I'm affected by stuff all the energy that I've been exposed to and how it's affected me and pushed me this way. So 2018 rolls around, a long time, from 1992. And so you can imagine all those years in between of repetitive trauma, high energy incidents, stuff that I was exposed to constantly. Finally, when I got to when I moved to Georgia in 2018, I met up with my partner, Matt, and he works full time for the city, and I would work part time there, filling for when guys were off. And one day we worked together, and it was just like magic, you know what I mean? Like we connected instantly with the paranormal. And I understood it. I didn't grow up, but I remember watching Ghost Hunters and all that kind of stuff. So, I know what it is, but we finally.
So this was the guy that you worked with as an EMT. Who was the guy that was into the paranormal? Was he working with you?
Matt.
I kind of missed that part.
Matt, so I met Matt in Georgia.
Okay.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah. I guess I missed the part where you said that you met up with someone that was into the paranormal. Was he working with you?
Well, yeah, I would work with Matt in the city part-time, and he was already sort of into it. He was like doing graveyards and just small places.
What did he do for a living?
He's a firefighter. So
okay, that was my question.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I get rambling on. Remember, if you don't know firefighters real well, and anybody listening that's in the law enforcement or a retired firefighter or a firefighter, we'll tell you stories for hours. So we have to have like those old TV shows where they put the hook out and pull somebody off stage. we could, and as time goes on, stuff just that I've suppressed or try not to remember comes out. But yeah, Matt is a career firefighter. He's my partner at Southern Heat.
Okay.
So we had that instant connection, not only fire, but paranormal. And then it finally, all this stuff just started to not come out, but it started to line up. I'm thinking all this years ago of all these things that I ran and did, and all these flashes that I get of things, during incidents. And it was, I think it was the dead, the other side, the other dimension, whatever you believe in, was saying, hey, come here. We want to communicate. We want to, they were leading me to where I was at today, I think. So, and the reason I say that, and even the name of my title, Breaking Dead Silence, is I'm breaking that for them, that silence that they have, that they can't communicate. There's that bridge or a gap that's between it that, I believe with my communication, we bridge that gap and form good communication. But anyway, I know I'm rambling on.
Before we get into that, because I definitely want to talk about that, just because you mentioned it right before the show, and that sounded, I really want to get into that portion of it. But I have to ask this too. Now that you mention it, there are probably at least 5 or 6 other guys in the paranormal field that I know that are firefighters, mm-hmm. which is odd because a lot of first responders, such as, like military and, where's my brain at? First, emergency room people. I've talked to physicians about this too. Like physicians are very reluctant to talk about the paranormal, even though there's more and more coming out because of afterlife studies and out of body experiences and things like that. But still, it seems like first responders don't really talk a lot about it.
No. And that's where I think this was another path that I've been led on, where it's like all these years of suppressing feelings and emotions. I talk to people constantly online, on Facebook. I just talked to a girl before the show that told me she was a police officer for many years, and a lot of times, no, they don't, I was raised, you were tough. You don't talk, you don't have emotions. And unfortunately that sounds good in theory, but all that you keep inside your body has to come out. It's going to come out somehow, some way. So it's either divorce, domestic abuse, porn addiction, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, any awful thing like that can be a result of holding all that stuff in, and unfortunately suicide. And it happens a lot in this field. Divorce rates through the roof, and we're away a lot too from home, but after a while, man, you see all this stuff and it just sort of just like turns a little switch off, and you don't talk about it, and it's just part of your job, and you go on your day. And so when I go to these paracons and we reach out to these people, and I think there's that connection to people come up to us and they're like, hey, my dad was a fireman, or hey, I've had people cry at our table paracons because they have that connection. And I think you said about doctors too. I think a lot of scientists don't believe in the afterlife. Yeah. They believe in like afterlife is like before you were born. There's nothing.
Well, it's kind of funny you mention that because, I've been around a lot of doctors throughout my life with different things I've done, but it depends on what kind of doctor you are. If you're into specialties, you're not really you're not really dealing with afterlife issues. It seems like those that work with like geriatrics, long-term care physicians, emergency room physicians are probably the biggest one that are more apt to come out and say, hey, yeah, there's something going on here. A lot of internists are more open, but, like radiologists and endocrinologists, people like that are into those specialties that really don't deal with actual life and death kind of issues right in their face like that. Yeah, they're not really, they don't have any reason to, I guess.
Yeah. But that reminds me of a story. Now, this was, again, stories. Matt's probably, if he's listening, he's probably laughing because we get into these speeches or these talks and we just tell war stories is what we call them. But we were working a chest pain call, and this was maybe late 90s, early 2000s. I can't remember now. But we went to this guy's house. He's having chest pain. It was probably a STEMI back then, or something really major he was having. And he just kept saying about chest pain. We were out treating him and providing aid, and he passed out, unresponsive. He was apneic and pulseless. And so the EMT or the medic shocked the guy. So after we got him back, he proceeds to tell us that he had an out-of-body experience. And this was, like I said, before cell phones or any kind of thing. We just chalked it up to what it was. But basically, he was telling us, like, he could hear us and see us, but we couldn't hear him. So he was yelling at the paramedic not to shock him because he knew it was going to hurt.
Oh, my goodness.
He thought that brain, like, don't shock me, don't shock me, don't shock me. And obviously it brought him back. But yeah, he had that experience where he could see us and hear us, but we just couldn't hear him. So that was neat. I mean, that was really one that I can really recall that I've done CPR where I've been grabbed, my hands have been grabbed by patients and stuff like that. But a lot of times they don't recall a lot of the things. So I don't know what it is that triggers that. And there's a whole big study on that. We're not going to get into all that now, but what triggers that ability to have that experience where other times where I've done CPR and brought people back, they don't have that experience.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really neat. For me, back then I did, again, not knowing where I was going to be at today with the paranormal. It's just like another thing that was leading me down this road to this journey. I call it the journey to the dead. Basically, it led me down this path to where I'm at. So,
in a way, it kind of makes sense that first responders would be more open to the paranormal with experiences because you're facing death every single day. And if you look at the paranormal field, most of the people in it who say that they're mediums or they had paranormal experiences, whatever it may be in the paranormal field, if you start looking into their story, they all have some sort of trauma in their life. Either they lost somebody or they faced death themselves or something happened to them. I'm willing to bet 9 out of 10 times at least.
Yeah. Something traumatic happened to trigger that. And I didn't see it for a long time. I just sort of, as part of the job, whatever. But I finally had it take me to 2018 to realize this. And, these years. I was going to say something, but I can't remember. I was just.
I interrupted you. I'm very sorry.
Oh, no, I know. We get talking. It's all good. It's all good. I want to talk a little bit about that. We can another call that really stuck out in my brain is I was on a school shooting. I'm not going to say one of the first. I don't want to put it that way, but it was in 1996 at Penn State, the Hub Lawn. A young female took a long rifle on campus and hid out in the bushes. And it was 9-something in the morning, and she waited there. She shot and killed one female patient or a person and wounded another fella. And I actually transported her to the hospital.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you talk about energy. I mean, all over the place. Good, bad, hysteria. And that's what we get in. We can talk about that call in a couple minutes, but in the fire service, and I think this is the point I was trying to get at, even in EMT, we're trained to organize chaos fast. And I think that's another tool that we have when it comes to the paranormals. We're so hyper-focused and our demeanor so calm. When stuff does happen, it's not a surprise to us. I mean, it should happen because that's what we're trying to do. I'm not going to get down the road and call it for a fire and I show up and there's actually a fire. Well, yeah, it's the same thing with the paranormal. You'll have stuff that happens and you try to debunk it and all that kind of stuff, but other times you can't. It's like, well, you asked and you got your answer. So, but yeah, and that energy there was through the roof. Like she was tried, and I think she pled insanity. And I did try to look up where she was at today. I don't know if she's out or she's still being treated, but she never admitted to why. She had a failed marriage, I think I just read at one point, and maybe some mental illness. I'm not sure. But unfortunately, something happened where it led her to that dark side. And that was the outcome of that. But to hear that, that poor girl just attending school on campus was shot and killed. But anyways, I transported her to the hospital. And how that happened is she was hiding in these bushes, and a gentleman, thank God, knew some self-defense and come over to stop her. And when she when he went to stop her, went to stab him, and she stabbed herself. So real quick on that, with females, when they stab, females mainly stab down, where men stab out. So when she stabbed down, he blocked her arm and she stabbed herself in the thigh. And then he subdued her and actually put a tourniquet on her leg. So it actually saved her life, in that sense. But yeah, I remember they transported her to the hospital. I don't get a lot of detail, I don't know who's listening. And obviously we treated her like we would treat anybody else. There was never any malice or discrimination. But I remember the detective, questioning her. Of course, I had to go back for more questions and stuff that I seen. But it was like, and a lot of times you can either talk to first responders or people that have been in vehicle accidents. It's sort of like high speed, but then it like goes into like slow motion. I don't know. It's hard to explain. But that was a wild day. I was back in 1996 at the Penn State College main campus. I was working as an EMT, young EMT, huh? No grays. Now I'm old, man.
Now you're old and just a ghost hunter. Now you worked in the government too.
Firefighter.
You worked in the government too, right?
Yeah. I actually still work for the government. I work at Fort Moore at the fire department, formerly Fort Benning. But I've worked for the federal government for a long time, and I've been down many avenues with the federal government in the fire service. A lot of places that I worked, I can't really speak in depth about. But I did work at a facility in Pennsylvania that was part of the Pentagon. And then I spent a lot of my summers working for the forest fire service, or the forestry service. And I was all over the country fighting forest fires in the summertime. So that was an awesome, awesome thing, to go out and hike. And not that there was fires was awesome, but to see the country and to interact with people and that type of energy that led me to many places. I was in Nevada for a summer, up north, of course, California, all that kind of stuff. So I gained a lot of experience, interacted with Native Americans, which was great. Got to learn a little bit about their culture and see the country. And the thing really that I remember out there that was really, I don't know if it was paranormal, but we would often find your urns in the middle of the woods that people would leave, or shrines. So that, whenever the fire would burn over the foliage and expose that stuff. But yeah,
I found some like that too already. I found some stuff like that too. I don't know exactly what they are, but there's some kind of like little offering. I generally just don't even touch them if I run across something like that.
People are, I'm like, no, don't touch any of that stuff. Don't touch any bones, anything like that, because it's kind of taboo, I guess. But yeah, 2005, I was deployed to Hurricane Katrina for 21 days. I was in Hancock County. I know we spoke a little earlier about this. You were in New Orleans during the hurricane.
We just missed each other.
Yeah, but you talk about traumatic experiences. Not so much me, but just the people involved, and just like nothing left. Like So we were tasked to find missing people, and there was like nothing left of streets or street signs. So you'd try to have a map. Sorry about that. We're talking. But yeah, you'd have like not a topo map, but just a city map of the streets and stuff to try to navigate through to where you could find stuff. And then we would have a list. We were working with, I think I sent you some pictures, but they didn't show up. It was Rhode Island Task Force 1, their USAR team, and then Tennessee Task Force 2. But it was neat, to get out and do all that kind of stuff and talk to people that literally lived through the hurricane and stayed and evacuate. Unfortunately, a lot of people lost their lives, and some stuff happened that hopefully for the good it changed as far as that goes. But what did you do down in Katrina?
I just took a bunch of photos and documented and interviewed a bunch of people right after
Good
Katrina.
idea.
So they came, I just followed FEMA around basically and interviewed the different families and stuff. And what they were doing was I was at, I think it was the 7th ward and the 9th wards. And so I was following them, and what they were doing, they were going through block by block and kind of clearing it out. And the families would come in. This was like maybe a week or two after the water had gone down. They had a week or two just to get their stuff out, and they were, trying to salvage whatever they could to get it out of there, because they were bulldozing the entire thing. Right. And it was street by street. So they were also looking for bodies or anything, because they had like hazmats and all that sort of thing going through there. The thing I remember about it was the smell. I'll never forget the smell.
Yeah, rotten refrigerators.
It was that, and it was also, I think it was bodies too, because remember it got really, really hot right after. Yeah, you could smell it. It was the most distinctive smell. But Micael, what I want to get into is, where does this go with the paranormal? You have all of these experiences, and so you're looking at the paranormal through a different set of eyes.
Right.
How does this come out in your investigations?
Well, back to our training and years of running calls and being hyper-focused and organizing chaos. I think a lot of those tools that I've learned over the years pays off when we do go out and do investigations, as far as how we approach things. I mean, we all have a fight or flight side to it. There's times where I've been not so much spooked, but, like startled, that kind of stuff on calls and stuff like that. But me and Matt, we take a lot of our skills and stuff that we've learned in the fire service and even as an EMT, and we approach the investigation, as far as the organization of it, how we approach an area as far as like a building and that kind of stuff. Again, back to the being hyper-focused and listening, and I think a lot of it too, another tool that we sort of kind of touched on, that I think me and Matt both use, is we're almost like an empath for the spirits. So it's like we're our own tool when we go in here. Obviously we all are, but I think us being exposed to all these energies and all these traumatic events, just attaches a little bites to us. And I think when we go into these investigations, I think what's there, or what we open up, and whatever comes in to talk to us, I think recognizes that. And that really played out in we were up filming in the old South Pittsburgh Hospital, and we had Mike and Marty Perry came with us, and he's a psychic medium, so is she, but she draws what he sees. And I think with all of us there, and how we approach that, I think that we were just overwhelmed by people wanting to communicate with us. And I think just us bringing that calm, and they're knowing that we've been on that veil before. So we sort of understand that how it is when you go from this life to the next, because we've seen people cross and we've seen people come back to life. And I think they this is my theory, and I think it's just one of those things where they can recognize that. So we use that as one of our tools, and when we go investigate, it's just us. We announce ourselves, and we've been in hospitals and sanitariums, and they've been sort of the same thing. We're medically trained. Is anything we can do to help? Or so, I mean, if you can understand how that works, you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And
There was a theory that you talked about a little bit about you think that they can't speak to us. There's like a barrier.
yes, sometimes. I mean, you can hear disembodied voices, but is that them direct, intelligent or residual? But there's that gap. I call it the gap. We have all these terms of me and Matt have that use, and maybe somebody else uses it too, but I call it the gap. It's the gap of communications between here and there. So we're always trying to bridge that. We put that out to them, like, listen, we can't hear you. You may hear us. I think there's a time delay on that, but can you? We're going to have different ways to communicate with you. To bridge that gap. That you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And how do you do that?
Well, obviously we use different devices, but when we go into a place, like anybody else, we announce ourselves, what our intent is. My biggest thing is like, listen, was your place, whatever it is. If it's your home, you're known to be here or live here or passed here, we respect that. This is why we're here. We're curious. In this world, for some reason, we're obsessed with death. We're obsessed with dying. We're all dying every day, but we're just completely obsessed with what's on the other side. We're rushing through things, worrying about what's on the other side. But anyways, so we go in, introduce ourselves, blah, blah, blah. And, listen, we're here to communicate. We're going to do some stuff tonight. We're not going to provoke. This is what we do. And this is what we're going to use. If you want to come out and talk, come out and talk. And me and Matt also have this theory, and even me and Josh Purvis has talked about this. I think when we open that communication up, it opens a beacon up. We think this world where we're surrounded by walls, where that world there's not. Time is man-made, so there's no time on that side. But we can't think to that level. But I think once we open that gap or bridge that gap for communications, I think it's like a beacon. And whoever wants to come across or talk to us can. And we use a lot of different techniques. We don't Estes method. Everybody uses that. But we have different devices. We have some custom built devices. I'm not big on message boards, but it's a form of, of communication. Because you're not hearing nothing.
Right.
So at least with an ITC device and stuff like that, they're identifying who they are and you can hear them. Where message board can be anything. So I sort of stay away from that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, it seems we get good responses. I mean, we don't go in there and turn the circus music on and say showtime. But we go in and you want to talk. If not, then we're going to walk around, check the place out, and move on to the next. And a lot of times that just seems to work out for us. We don't pressure anything. And I think me and him are history buffs too, so we sort of dig that kind of stuff. Old structures and always looking around. Again, back to fire service, you're looking at your surroundings constantly. You're hyper focused. Your senses are driving because in situations you need your senses, and there's situations where I don't have my eyes. I'm in complete darkness and 500-600 degree heat, so I have to use my other senses. See how that all plays out into this, where my other senses off, focus more when I don't have the other ones. And I think it all works out in the end, when we're running in to do these investigations and using different equipment. And Uh,
So, what is your theory on? Like, I know you go to a lot of old places, like that old cabin you sent me the film to, and oldest
oh, yeah.
asylums, things like that. I know this sounds a little facetious, but
No, go ahead.
why do spirits hang out in these places? Why are they not? If you can hang out anywhere in the world, why
I
are they not on
know.
the beach or in
Right.
Paris or at Versailles or somewhere else? Why there?
And we've asked that. Like that's the same question that we ask about God. And we've got some responses with God or whatever you believe in. But I don't know. I don't know if they're afraid of being judged. I don't know if it's like a what's the Catholics believe in?
Oh, purgatory.
Purgatory, or they don't want to go, or they're held back. You know, they're told, no, you got to stay here by a more dominant spirit. I don't know. I'm like you. I'm like, why do you want to stay in a jail built in the 1800s that's falling down? And we've asked that. You know, we've asked questions like that. You know, the same as spiritual questions we've asked, and once in a while you'll get an answer, but it's just like you'll get maybe afraid. You know, just some random stuff, or it goes silence. For some reason, when you get into those questions, you don't get a lot of responses.
It's almost as if there's some kind of rule that you're not allowed to say too much. They're allowed to just give you bits and pieces,
Yeah.
and that's it. They're not. And I also feel like, investigators always ask the wrong questions. They're always asking about who's there, what's your
Right.
name, stupid stuff. Why
Right.
aren't we asking, where are you? What's it like there? Those are the questions we really want to know.
Yeah. I mean, like I said earlier, we're constantly worrying about death. You know, we're trying to figure it all out. I'm like, we're going to get there soon enough. Quit worrying about it. But it is cool. I guess it's just the unknown. It's one of those things that you're curious about. And that's what I try to, with the spirits or whatever you believe in, I'm like, hey, we're just curious too. But I think you're right. I think there's like that plane or that doesn't allow that to cross. Because I think we're so in tune with the way our world is with time and surroundings. There's no time over there. It's man-made. Time's man-made. So a lot of times I don't think they have that. Does somebody have a question?
Yeah, there seems to be a tire and imprint on that location.
A what?
Tabitha says that there seems to be a tire and imprint on that particular location that keeps them there.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm. So they're like, I don't want to say marked, but they're sort of like can't get out of that.
I think that's what she means.
Okay.
Like they're like a part of them is like, have you ever heard of like when your soul is kind of fragmented, like maybe
Right.
a piece of you goes here and another piece goes there.
Right.
So maybe there is just like an imprint of like a piece of them there or something.
Well, Catholics used to do that too. I'm not sure if you're Catholic or know anybody, but like when they say like you were diabetic and you would lose a limb, you'd have to bury it. Like you couldn't get like a finger or a limb cut off and have it like burned. You'd have to have it buried. Yeah. I'm telling you, this gets deep with this kind of stuff. And I honestly don't think we'll never understand any of it. Maybe we're going to die and it's going to be nothing. Maybe the scientists are right. Maybe it's like it was before we were born. Or maybe we'll be reincarnated and be on the beach. But I
don't know. I've had way too many experiences for there not to be. I mean, I've had friends come visit me and all kinds of stuff already. So
do you
I know
dream a lot?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I get a lot of mine. Besides the flashes, I get a lot of dreams of people that come. And I get mad because they don't talk to me.
I've had people talk to me. It's yeah, that's a story for another time. But has there been any spirit communication in your life that completely changed the way you look at the paranormal?
Good question. Besides that dude that we shocked to come back to life, you mean on an investigation?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a couple. Actually, we're going to speak on it in Gettysburg coming up. We had an incident. We were on in an area, and we were just sort of an impromptu investigation. You know what I mean? Just hanging out, talking, and had some devices out, and just saying, "Hey, we're here if you want to communicate, if you want to talk." If that they understood that, and we actually had some interactions where. Um, we had people cross and say they could see their parents and see God and Jesus, and we have it on film. I mean, through some of the devices. So we're going to talk about that. But a lot of that times, you know, when I guess it's neat. I mean, I knew it's always been there, but to actually hear it and confirm it, I'm like, oh, that is pretty cool. You know, when you have those reactions. But yeah, I think that was the biggest thing when you hear, you know, I can see God or whatever you believe in, you know, or I can see my parents. And yeah, and anytime stuff like that happens, sort of makes me feel a little better, I guess, about afterlife and where we're headed. I don't know where I'm headed though.
Well, we're not here to answer all the questions. We can't solve all the world's problems in just this 1 hour, I'm afraid.
No, I know. And we'll never understand the paranormal anyways. I always tell people, listen, I'll give you like a word, you know, like a secret word before I die. Yeah, people do that. I guess that, you know, that works, you know, sort of like, what's his name? That wanted to prove that there was life after death, or
the magician did that.
Who's that?
I should know who that magician is. I live in Vegas, for crying out loud. What's his name?
The Chris Angel?
No. He's the old school magician. From Vegas.
Yeah.
Why do I know this? Somebody out there, I know you know.
If anybody's listening, who's the old school magician from the 80s and 90s? Type it in the comments so we can see this.
The guy who said he was going to send his wife a message.
Oh, well, that was what's his name?
Shoot, what's his name?
Okay.
Houdini.
For what's his name?
Oh, Houdini.
Yeah,
Houdini.
But that went along with and I can't remember the guy's name. It was over. Anyways, not to get off track, but that people would get beheaded, or, you know, like they would do that kind of stuff. And he said about living after that, like you could still see for 20 seconds. And they had a communication thing where they would blink their eyes. And this guy, like, after that happened, blinked his eyes. So then the guy knew that he could still hear him after he was that incident happened to him. But anyways, so there's been all sort of type of things out there where people have been trying to figure out the other side. But honestly, you know, all these people that I've talked to that have been in this for a long time, you know, it's just mind blowing that they'll never figure it out. And a lot of people started in the paranormal, like I have. You know, a couple police officers. There's some people that work on TV that were actually investigators that picked stuff up on recordings at murder scenes and stuff like that.
Yeah, you do hear that a lot.
Yeah, and that's always something that I've always wanted to do. Not any disrespect to anybody. I'm always want to be like, I can hear you. Is there anything you wanted me to hear or say? This is the time to do it. But obviously I can't do that, you know, because I got to be professional and do my job. But I've always wanted to. I don't know if you could ever really do that, but that would make an awesome thing for people to experience like that. I don't know. And I think that's what makes me the way I am today is I'm there when that happens. So, but
well, you sent a video.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to play that or not.
Yeah.
What is this video?
This video, for who don't know, and not to promote everything, but me and Matt actually more immersed in things because we can't get away from it. Actually, run an old jail built in 1915, an old Bleckley County jail. It's in Bleckley County, Georgia. So we had the opportunity to clean it up and open it up to the public, and we offer investigations. But we'll go there. Excuse me, supper time. And do TikToks and stuff like that, experiments. And it was just we just go and we do this a lot of times. You talked about our investigations and what we do. We do this a lot of times at the end of the night where we'll just let a device run. I'm like, listen, this is your time. Just talk. Whatever you want to say, just say. You want to scare us, whatever, just do it now. But a lot of times we'll just put a device on. And this device that I had here, I just had built. I didn't build it. I had it built, and I wanted obviously to try it. So we get down to the jail, the old jail, and just we open, basically open up a veil like we do in normal investigations, bridge that gap, and this is one clip that come across, but you can play like it's a little loud. Now you remember just to talk about the video. The video was recorded live on TikTok. So we're sort of in a dark area, but we have candlelight. I'm talking to Matt. TikTok's running. We don't hear a lot of these responses until we edit it or re-listen to it. And anybody in the paranormal field will tell you that too. Anything, you hear stuff when you replay and see it. So some stuff we don't hear right away, but you'll hear a lot of the stuff clear. And then go ahead and play it, and then we'll talk about what I'm saying and how it works.
Okay.
Technician, if you could come forward and give me your name, that would be great. Micael? Is that you, Micael? Micael, can you come forward and speak to me, please? If you guys hear something that we're not, please put it in the comments. Because sometimes on the other side you can hear it clear, and then we can hear it in person, if that makes sense. I think I just heard the name Micael. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Micael, can you bring somebody forward or come talk to me, please? Technicians assist. Micael, can you hear me? Can you see us? That was funny, the last video. You asked, or I asked about, can you hear or see us? And it said something clear. All right, just a little recap on that. Once we get back up here. There's just a ITC device. It's not a spirit box. It has a linear sweep to it, and you can adjust different knobs to make it echo and repeat. And it's probably why it sounded like it did. But some of the stuff I was hearing again, like when I was talking at the end, he answered my question when I asked to get back to no time, because I think it takes time for this to come back and forth. And we sort of like wiretap them into their thing. But you'll hear me say technician, and where that comes from, and I that's not my thing. Chris Moon, I'm sure people have heard of Chris before. Psychic medium, great guy, has been around for a long time. I've worked with him a few times. He talks about ITC devices, the Frank box. He had some of the original Frank boxes before they got burned up in a fire. But all back from Thomas Edison with the spirit phone, that type of thing. He wanted to talk to his mother again. And then Frank come up and said, "Hey, I finished Thomas Edison's spirit phone." But so make a long story short, you hear me technicians assist. So how that started, Chris just said it one day. It came into his head. So he's been using it. And we worked a couple of times again. I said, "Hey, I'm very intrigued by that and the responses you're getting." And he explained to me why. And then Dee was telling me, his wife was saying, funny story about that is he never really talked about that too much. And then this publication come out saying that they've been doing this type of radio communication and work, but they've been hearing people talk. So they asked these people, "Well, what do you want us to call you?" And this person came across and said technician. But that he was already saying that before the study. So I said, "Hey, man, I like the responses you're getting. I like to sharpen my ITC skills. I got a lot of devices. I like this type of communication. I'm not in we have all the fancy stuff, but it just gets too cumbersome. I just like to go in and with a few things and go from there." But So when I say technician, I mean, I believe in that technician is the liaison between us and somebody that can't communicate yet. Like you said, maybe a fragmented soul, maybe somebody that's being dominated by another spirit, maybe a child. And then you heard in that video when I said, technicians assist. Who am I speaking with? We heard Micael was plain as day come across. So I bridge that gap. I have communication with somebody. I don't know where Micael is, but I'm communicating with him. Again, stuff's delayed, so you have to be patient and wait for these. And you'll hear me say, technicians assist. And a lot of times I'll say, hey, if somebody wants to cross or come forward or just wants blessed or wants help, this is your time. A lot of times we'll hold conversations with these people over this. So was blessed to have learned this skill and trying to work and hone on it and make things better. But that's pretty neat stuff. And I downloaded videos from TikTok, and then when I go to replay them, they like freeze and pause. But there was one that same video, and I was trying to find it for you, where we were talking, me and Matt, just BS when we let the device run, and Matt's voice, his word was finished across that device. It was weird. It's hard to explain. Like he was like me and you're talking, but then as he finished his sentence, the last part of the sentence come across that device and like amplified it.
That's really strange.
Yeah, I'll find it.
That's really strange. There was a weird incident I had with Shane Pittman has like a really small investigating group that comes out to Washoe Club once a year. And I was on one of those investigations with them. And we were divided into two groups. One of them was in a club, one of the fraternities across the way. And then the rest of us were in the Washoe Club, and we would switch because we were trying to get the conspirators to communicate back and forth, right? Well, when two of us left and went to the other building, our voices came out on on the spirit box.
What is that? I gotta figure that out.
It was really strange.
You think it's mimickers?
Yeah, I do. It has to be.
How do they mimic voices like that's crazy?
Because there's no time and space.
Yeah, I guess. Maybe you're like stuck there and it replays again.
Yeah,
they have a way of capturing your voice and replaying it, like mimicking it, basically.
Mm-hmm. One of the guys that was mimicked, he has this weird thing that he does, and it's supposed to be like some goofy thing that only he and Shane know about. And it came out on the box when we were across when we were across the street.
I think the other side's more intelligent than us, right?
Well, I guess since they've lived, first century.
All those years of learning pays off.
Exactly.
Then what are you gonna do? You can't use it when you're dead. Just torture or tease people and mimic people.
Yeah, I guess so.
But yeah, go ahead.
We are at the bottom of the hour already. Wow. I know. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to me about the vow to the afterlife. What kind of events do you have coming up, and where can people find you? What are you up to?
I'm so glad you asked, because I seen you're going to be joining us in Louisiana.
Yeah, I just found this out.
2025. Yay. It's a great Paracon. Real intimate, and that's what I like. Not a huge group, just small group of people that love it and can come out and have a good time and be all wacky together and have all these fancy devices. But yeah, next up, we just got back. We just filmed with Lights Out Industry in Alabama, but I will be, try to remember all this stuff now real quick. I'll be at the Gettysburg Bash in PA in July. I'll be at the sorority party at the USS New Jersey in October. So if you're in that area, I will be there. Come see me. I've been already have stuff lined up for 2025, but we won't get that far ahead. And then some other projects coming up. I film also. So we always have that lined up too. September. There's a project coming up. November, there's another project coming up. So not only do I go out investigate, but I help and work for Lights On Industry. But anyways, make a long story short, you can find me on all social media platforms, me and Matt. I think I gave a QR code, but if not, our link tree is Spooky Entertainment LLC. If you get on Linktree and type that in, has all our links to all our platforms: Southern Heat Paranormal, our YouTube page, Voices of the Past by Southern Heat Paranormal. TikToks is Southern Heat Paranormal, pretty basic stuff. Our website is letsmakeithot.com. So Matt's like, that sounds like a bad website. I'm like, yeah.
It does. It's a little too Vegas-y for me.
I'm not clicking on that. But
that's
yeah.
more Vegas than Vegas.
Yeah, there you go. Please give us a like, follow, man. We don't wear capes. We're not superheroes. We're not looking for fame and fortune. We take what we've learned and try to go out and figure things out like the rest of everybody else. And that's all we want to do, is do what we do on our job and do it in the paranormal side, I guess. But
well, Micael, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
You made my night. I've been waiting for a long time to be on this show, so I'm super excited that we finally got to do this.
On October 5th, I will be at Rock Island Roadhouse Paracon, located at the old haunted YMCA building, to talk about my book, Dancing with Demons, and my personal paranormal life story. I will be around all weekend, so come see me. The lineup of speakers include some true paranormal investigators, such as Josh Purvis and Micael LeBaron. We have up to, I think, 115 vendors right now at this thing. Come out and see me. Tickets can be purchased from my link on the website, clthomas.org. You've been listening to The Gateway, your portal to the unexplained and mystical and otherworldly, broadcast live from United Public Radio Network 107 FM, New Orleans. Until next time.